Welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast, episode 14.
Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today on the show, I have Ryan Lee. Ryan is the fantastic artist between the recent IDW series Mountainhead, that's still ongoing, the independent series The Naturals, a ton of work for Valiant Comics, and a lot of people probably know him best from his occasional Inktober series Monthstrosity. Ryan has a really unique and expressive art style that really shines when he does the spooky and the macabre and things like that, and though he can probably kill it on practically anything, he really seems to have an adeptness to those subjects. It was a blast to finally talk to him. We've been kind of passing ships in the night the past 2 years whenever he's in town for C2E2. So I'm really glad we both were able to make the time and sit down and talk about, being parents, art styles, and most importantly, comics, coffee, and metal. So, without further ado, here's Mr. Ryan Lee. All right, Ryan. So, obviously, as I mentioned last episode with Ben Dewey, I'm kind of bringing back the 3 questions that are the title of this podcast. Comics, coffee, metal. What are you into right now?
All right. Comics. I'm reading Daniel Warren Johnson's Wonder Woman.
So good.
It's amazing. I'm reading a lot of stuff on the Shonen Jump app, actually. Reading a story called Chainsaw Man. It's about this guy. He merges with this kind of Pokemon looking demon that doubles as a chainsaw, and they kind of merge together. And so he can he changes into this strange hybrid demon guy where a chainsaw comes out of his face, and he has these chainsaws that come out of his arms. It is the craziest story.
Well, I was already sold on Chainsaw Man.
It is ridiculous.
I've been wanting to. I feel like I need to read some manga and kind of add that to my visual vocabulary a bit. Some of the craziness and the dynamics and that stuff. And this kind of sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, it's so weird, and that's the same thing with me. I haven't read a lot of manga, and I got that app, and I've been reading that and One Punch Man, which is also ridiculous and funny and wild. The concepts are just crazy. So I've been reading a lot of that stuff, and oh man, I buy so many comics. Oh, I picked up the Weatherman trade, Nathan Fox, and who is writing that? Shoot.
Writers aren't important, Ryan.
They are. It's so
writers
terrible.
are not important. It's
so
especially if it's Nathan Fox on art.
It's Jody
Hauser?
Jody LaHoop, I think, is writing it. Anyways, great book.
Okay. It's
super cool. I don't know. There's so many things that I'm reading right now. I have a stack, and I've been reading a lot more lately, obviously.
Yeah. I've actually been going back into my my long boxes and pulling out some of the weird 90s crap I bought and kind of going through some of that stuff. And there's some questionable choices young Don made when buying comics back then.
Of course, you gotta make some errors, along the way. We learn. Taste gets refined.
Definitely.
Yep, it is Jody LaHoop. I just looked it up, by the way.
Okay. No, it's writers are important, I guess. Not on this show. Until I have a writer on, and then I'll kiss their ass.
I love a writer. I do.
I'm just mad at writers because I'm, constantly reminding myself how difficult it is to write comics when I'm trying to write my own.
It's so hard. Much respect. Jeez. So yeah, that's what I'm reading, and then and a bunch of other stuff, like I said. And coffee, is that the next one?
Yes, that's it. Coffee.
I like to get it from a local roaster up here in Traverse City. There's a place called Higher Grounds, and they have this. It's a bit of a lighter roast. It's called Dr. Congo. It just has the best flavor. It's a little fruity. Yeah, I just love it. Smooth. I'm not a big fan of dark roasts. They just taste kind of burnt to me. So this thing goes down real smooth. I drink coffee black too, so straight out of the pot. And yeah, I'm a big coffee person. I love coffee.
That's something I've been failing to ask people is like what like, because coffee is such a wide berth of like flavors and like light roast, dark roast. Because you mentioned you're a light roast guy, kind of like something with the fruity notes or like almost you like stuff that's like a little acidic almost or like a little citrusy.
Yeah, a little citrusy. Yeah, I do like the fruitier note ones, and I usually like I like medium and lighter roasts generally. Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, yeah, because I'm definitely more of a, I don't want to say dark roast. I like a good dark roast if it's got like more of a nutty or chocolate kind of notes.
Like that.
But it can easily turn into burnt territory.
Yeah, it does sometimes. I like it strong.
Yeah.
I like it strong, but yeah.
Well, I could be wrong, but I was reading somewhere that lighter roasts are actually contain more caffeine. I'm not 100% sure if that's true or not, but
that's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few light roasts I like, but I wish we had some like local roasters around here because we're about 35 miles north of Chicago that has plenty of roasters, and there's local brands in the shops around us, but it's not as like fulfilling as going down to an actual coffee shop and like grabbing a bag from where they're serving it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a neat place too. They didn't used to have just to be a little more eco-friendly, they didn't used to have to-go cups. They would just give you a mug that you could take with you.
Like, that's so awesome.
People would donate mugs, and there's some logistical issues with that if you're getting in a car or you want to walk somewhere. But I just thought it was pretty cool. I think you might be able to get a takeout cup now, but I kind of like being able to just take a mug with you and then bring it back, a week later.
Well, you bring your thermos cup and just make sure you're prepared. You should just be always prepared to just fill up with coffee somewhere.
Yeah, I was never prepared ever. And then metal. Oh man,
I know you're not a huge metal guy. I don't
listen to a lot of metal. Yeah, I like punk rock and indie stuff.
Which is welcome on this show, I must say, because we all share Motorhead. So that's
there you go.
That's I'm like, okay, if you're punk or grungy or even some indie rock stuff, that's fine.
Yep. Yeah, that's my big jam is a lot of that stuff. And
well, how far heavy do you go with what you listen to, I guess?
I don't know. I do like some hardcore. But I can't, really, I don't keep up on it. Mm-hmm. I have a friend who is really into metal and hardcore, and he used to be kind of my conduit to everything. Like he would kind of filter stuff my way, like, hey, I think you'd like this,
Yeah.
And he's one of my best friends, and I just don't see him as much, those are the days when you drive around the car all the time, just playing music for each other and hanging out, but yeah, he got me into like Carcass. I like them.
Okay.
And I don't know. Recently, he keeps telling me about Kvelertak.
They're so good.
Yeah, he loves that band.
They're really good.
I kind of like them.
They're very AC/DC-ish in like the attitude, and it's kind of like you hear one song, that's what you're gonna get. Like, it's but not not exactly like they're like a 1-to-1 copy sound wise or anything like that, but it's definitely that vibe.
Yeah, and I like it. I like riffy stuff. I just don't really. I don't know. I don't find myself in the mood to want to listen to it very often for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I respect the medium, and I think metal is pretty great. I just I don't know. I just like I like really catchy, hooky stuff. So obviously, that's why I like indie pop. And
there's perfectly nothing wrong with that. I listen to like Tegan and Sarah just as much as I listen to Metallica. So
yeah,
it's probably sometimes more because I've had like a lifetime of listening to metal. So a lot more of this like synthwave and stuff like that gets a little bit more play sometimes. Have you ever checked out this band called Dragged Under?
No, that kind of rings a bell, but I can't. I don't think I know who that is. No.
Well,
Sorry.
they're kind of the guitar player and one of the main songwriters. He's a pretty sizable YouTube guitar guy,
Okay.
and he was part of another band with another bigger YouTube guitar guy. That was more of a metal-y type band, but they kind of like, were changing sounds, kind of, they kind of like broke up, reformed, blah, blah, blah. But now they're kind of, now they're dragged under. They just went on tour with The Used.
Okay. I know who that is.
And then, but yeah, they're more metal-y. But I think based on what I kind of know what you like, they might be up your alley.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Why not? I'm
Yeah.
always game to hear new stuff. Love listening to music, so.
Yeah, I'm really
right.
trying to like change up my drawing habits because for so long I've just like, oh yeah, I have so many like YouTube channel subscriptions that I just pop whatever's on guitar wise or video essay wise or whatever stupid woodworking thing project that I think I can do just to have on in the background.
Cool. Yeah.
But I'm like, I really need to make a focus, listen to more music. So I've definitely been making more of a concerted effort of that this year myself.
Nice. Yeah, I read. I got into a bad habit of reading a lot of news a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just put me in a bad place. I was reading at night. It kind of became like filler. Like I just be sitting around and pick up my phone and just start going to news and reading news and feeling rotten. So usually when I feel like that, a couple of years ago, I just started listening to a lot of music at night, just like, or looking for new bands, like I have a subscription to Spotify. So I use that so much and just, it's so easy to find new bands on there. I've probably found more stuff on there than I ever have in my life. It's endless, basically.
I mean, back, I want to say around 6 or 7 years ago, I was really into listening to Pandora.
Sure.
And that led me down to a lot of bands like that I just love today. Like just that kind of randomization of just like, oh, you like this? Here's this.
Exactly.
You like this? Here's this. I don't do that so much now, but I have an Apple Music subscription, so I tend to on Fridays, I kind of just like go down the genres I like, kind of see what's new. And I'm part of enough music groups on Facebook that, thankfully, there's a lot of great recommendations, or at least just general recommendations. And then also from Twitter, like, our mutual friend Dave Jordan or a few other people, like they're always posting about music. So I'm like, oh, let me check this out. Oh, nope, no, not for me. Or, or like, this is my jam. Yeah, sure. But,
Dave and I have a link, had a major link up, from listening to like, late 90s emo. Both of us were really into that stuff. So like a lot of really obscure bands were just like, you like them? I like them. Like we really connected through that. He's like, I don't know anybody else who knows that band. I'm like, I know. Kind of cool.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, Dave's really good at like just bringing like unknown bands, and just like he's really good at just kind of scouring Bandcamp and stuff like that and saying, oh, these guys are awesome. These guys are awesome. And Kelly Williams, he's
Kelly's great
definitely
too.
thrown a few things my way.
Yep.
Not personally, but just like, posting about things, and I'm always down to check out something new.
Sure. Likewise.
But no, I totally get what you're saying, that listening to music, before you kind of have to like rest your brain is far more beneficial than the news or anything like that. And it didn't always used to be that way, I think.
The news?
Yeah. Not that the world's gotten, present situation aside, I don't think the world has been that much different. But I've been kind of thinking about it. And I guess this question has come up to me, knowing that you're also a parent. Like, do you kind of find it harder now that you're a parent to like really just watch the news or just see these stories of like horrible acts people do just constantly?
Oh yeah. I can't every time I hear something bad about a child, or like, I can't not think about my kid in that situation. So I don't want to hear any of that stuff. Like, I cannot listen to that stuff. It just makes me paranoid and worry.
You get like so angry and then so sad, and then it's like,
oh, just the thought of, like, I can't fathom the things that some people have to go through. Like, I mean, these people are your whole world. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Yeah, yeah. It makes you think about everything. Like, and in our current situation, even, like, whatever. I'm home. We're healthy. We have food. I can't complain, really.
Yeah.
Like, is it hard? Yeah. Does it suck? Yeah, it sucks some days. But you know what? In comparison to, like, someone working in a grocery store where they're scared, to get sick, and people are treating them like crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like people in hospitals, obviously. I can't complain, and I do feel bad for my kids. Like, that's what I worry about is, we just try to keep it fun and try to let them see their friends and stuff, online, and it's not the same. But my daughter was one of her classmates' mom set up a group for a bunch of the girls in their class to talk.
Oh, that's nice.
She was sitting in her room at her computer, on their computer, whatever, on her desk, and she's just sitting there smiling at it. And that was like the first time I really wanted to, like, break down a little bit. I don't know what it was, but there's something about her just sitting there smiling. She looked so happy. I was just like, man, these kids are so, like.
No, I totally get. I had a moment like that myself. I was what was it? It was a few days ago. It was like just beautiful weather out by us, just 70 degrees, sunny, just like perfect weather. And my daughter, she's almost 4, so she doesn't really have like a Skype group for her friends, but she was just looking out the window, and she had the hugest smile on her face because it wasn't gloomy, it wasn't like dark, and I'm just like, my heart broke a little bit because it's just like, I would love to take, we went out for a nice long walk and all that, but I'm like, I would just love to just like see you run around in a park right now and just going nuts, being a kid, and it's just like,
man.
Oh man,
it's not fair for them, and I mean, it's not fair for anybody. I don't want to sound
no, and like you said, we're all healthy. We have what we need.
Exactly.
We're not. Unfortunately, there's parents out there who are working in hospitals and they haven't seen their kids in weeks because they got to be quarantined away from their kids, and it's just super rough. And I was just not to get super heavy really fast.
No, I'm sorry. I kind of did it. I apologize.
No, what? I went into this today like, I'm like, what? I'm not gonna bring up anything heavy. I'm gonna keep it light. It's just hopefully some entertainment for some people who don't want to be thinking about this. And then my first question is, being a parent makes us sad, right?
Yeah, feel free to edit it out if you want.
No, it's staying. It's staying.
It's just
it's the reality. It's the reality. No, it's it's just the world becomes so much more real. I think when you have kids, and it's not a knock against anybody who doesn't have kids. It's just a different perspective.
Yeah, of course.
But speaking of perspectives, I really appreciate the perspective you have when it comes to art. How'd you like that segue? It's about smooth as sandpaper, but we're gonna go with it. Something I really like appreciate about your art is just how sure of your style you seem to be. I know as an artist, we all have our anxieties and things like that, and we're all kind of second guessing ourselves a lot, unless we're one of the select few who don't. But I've always you've obviously just grown in your ability and your talent since I've known you, but since the beginning, you've kind of had that the style you have has kind of been like the direction has been there. Is that something you've kind of actively worked to, or is this kind of like just how you've always drawn? Because I'm not sure my brain would be able to handle like Orion Lee who, copied Jim Lee. And
that's definitely where
I'm sure when it started, but like, my brain can't process like what that would look like.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in that heyday of 90s stuff. Like I was at the perfect moment, the perfect age. I think I was in middle school when all that stuff hit, and it was just paradise for me. Like I loved all that stuff. I remember, like, I forgot what magazine I had, and obviously I didn't have access to things that I do now in terms of like magazines and comics and stuff, but I got some comic magazine. It had like Youngblood in it, like previews of Youngblood there on the cover. And I remember just shredding that magazine and cutting out pictures and putting them all over my closet and my door. And just like, I was obsessed. I thought it was the coolest stuff I had ever seen in my life. I was like, what is this Spawn guy? Like it was, yeah, a middle school kid with that. It was just perfect timing. So yeah, I mean, I learned a lot about drawing from that, and I've said this on some other interviews and stuff, but I grew up reading a lot of Cracked and Mad Magazine. Rest in peace, Mort Drucker, by the way.
Legend.
Yep. So I always like humorous, goofy, kind of stuff like that. And man, I mean, it was a long time coming, like developing a style, I guess. I did illustration when I was in college, and then after, I looked at I think like it was a mix of comic books and Mad and Cracked, stuff like that. With in college, I started studying like a bunch of different illustrators and painters and stuff. And it somewhere along the line, it started to kind of merge a little bit. And what came out of that grinder is basically what you see now, and obviously like, I don't, it's not always how I want to be perfectly, but I don't know. And at this point, it's just kind of how I draw, like exaggerating. In the past, there were times where like my stuff was insanely exaggerated, like crazy. And I had to tone that back when I started to do comics a little more, because like some of that stuff doesn't always work in a sequential story, or at least for superhero stuff that I was trying to do. So I pulled it back a lot, and then I feel like, I don't know, it's past couple of years, I started to like bring some of that goofiness and cartooning back into what I did, because I dropped off a lot of that for a while, and now like bringing back that bounce and that I don't know, just level of fun and like exaggeration, but like it's a game of like inches of that's a little too crazy, like, or what's going to work, or like creating that visual language that is a very measured approach and is very like, I don't know. It's been hard, like trying to make that work, and it's going to continue to be, because I'm not where I want to be, and I can always improve. But yeah, it's definitely a combination of like the comics and like studying all like illustrators and stuff like that. So that's where I am, I guess.
And in the way my brain processes things, I kind of have to like see what the ingredients are for certain things. And I've always kind of like taken your style and seen it as kind of like a melding of like Sam Keith, Joe Mad, and actually Trent Kanuga.
Oh, I wasn't familiar with his work, but a friend of mine showed me his stuff, because he said I thought I would like it. Yeah, that's really cool. And Sam Keith was definitely one of my favorites. Like, I still have my Marvel Comics Presents that I bought at 7-Eleven when I was, I don't know how old I was. I was 7th grade, maybe 8th grade. but I still have those, and I thought it was the coolest stuff. Like, all the hatching and all the noodly stuff, but also like how you exaggerate things. Like nothing looked or looks like Sam Keith still.
No, to this day, no.
Yeah, and his stuff was weird, and it was just like, some things just look cool. Yeah. Like I had never seen anything like that. Sam Keith is a huge influence, of course, and who else did you mention there for a second?
Joe Mad.
Oh, Joe Mad. I did not find out about Joe Mad until I was out of college. Actually, my brother had bought an issue of Battle Chasers, and I hadn't read comics for a little while. I mean, I was in school, so I was completely broke. There was no, I didn't buy anything outside of like.
I think most of us.
Taco Bell and gas.
Yeah, I think most of us in our age range, like after the bust happened with comics, I think a lot of us fell off for a while. And found our way back eventually.
You're absolutely right. Yep. I think that was part of that. And I think it's just like an age thing too. Like, I was in high school and I was just like hanging out and I just wasn't, it's kind of a bummer. I wasn't drawing as much. Especially like my junior and senior year, I was just goofing off with friends and being stupid. And, but Joe Mad, when I saw his stuff, I was like, whoa, and it was the way it was colored too.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know what Battle Chasers looked like. And at the time, I mean, there's a reason that Joe Mad gets the accolades. Like that stuff still holds. It's awesome looking. It's so dynamic and like everything has such weight to it, I love Joe Mad.
Yeah, Joe Mad's one of the guys where it's like, I say, I get it. It's not necessarily, it doesn't strike the same chords for me as the people who love him do. But I'm also like, I'm not going to diss his work in the slightest because I totally get why people love it. It's just not, stuff, it doesn't hit the boxes for me. Sure. And full confession time, I think I'm only like a couple years younger at best than you. So, but yeah, I came in the comics like just after Image hit.
Yeah.
So I was like buying stuff like when like the 5th or 6th issues of these comics were coming out, and I remember seeing, I was totally just all in myself. I was getting Wizard Magazine, I was getting Heroes Illustrated to get whatever extra info I can, I was diving in the quarter bins, getting all the Extreme Studios stuff,
Oh yeah.
I have like at one point I had like 5 or 6 of those crazy like 14-part Extreme Studios crossovers that he had between all his books. And I paid for like, $5 for the whole thing or whatever, because it was towards the end of the life cycle of that whole thing. But I so very distinctly remember Sam Keith, and again, full confession, I did not like Sam Keith's art at all. In fact, I actively hated it because he drew Wolverine wrong. And this is from the perspective though of a kid, like my Wolverine is Mark Silvestri. It's been a great
interview, Don. It's been great.
This is the makeup for this is the makeup for that, because now I fully love everything he does, and I think it's the first cover of the Max, and there's this just a part where he's rendering the Max's arm, and he's got like all the muscles, but like the entire like shoulder and like upper back are like just clean.
Yeah.
And it drives me fucking nuts because it looks so great, but I cannot I cannot understand like how someone like that, Noodly and Hatch, he just left that there like that. And I think
Maniac.
And I think when I first like my brain finally processed that image, I was like, I was able to go back and really look at his stuff with more, appreciative eyes and like really get what he was about and the noodliness and stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of artists that I'd be embarrassed to say whose art I did not like when I was around that age. Mike Mignola and Jack Kirby being two of them. Shame on me.
Hey,
what do you do, man?
I
didn't know that. I was stupid. That was dumb.
I was there with the Jack Kirby thing because you hear Jack Kirby's the best. He's the greatest. So I ended up buying he did some Image comic. I think it was like some creator-owned thing he had. He just like brushed off or whatever and just put it out through Image. And I bought it thinking, oh, this is Jack Kirby. I'm going to be blown away by this. And I was like, what is this? Like, it wasn't even so much that I couldn't understand the fact that, oh, it's not all, immensely cross-hatched and things like that. It's just that it wasn't Kirby, And
and I wish I even had that for like I was just like, it doesn't like
it really did nothing.
Stuff.
It really did not do me any good. But
Same.
Who else? You mentioned Mignola. Mignola, though, funnily enough, the oft mentioned X-Force issue he did that I guess was very divisive among people. Yeah, I remember getting that and loving it because it was so crazy, and I'm like, and then the funny thing is, like, sometimes I think every couple years, like a tweet or a post goes around like, here's Rob Liefeld's layouts for the Mignola issues. See what Mignola really was a master and did. And I'm like, a lot of the really great shots was stuff Rob laid out. Like, Rob's problem wasn't really layout. If you want to say he had a problem.
Yeah, they were pretty close.
Like, and I'm gonna go so far as to say, like, around the 6th or 7th issues of Youngblood, Rob was fucking like he had all cylinders firing. Like, I think Danny Mickey was inking him too. Inking him.
I kind of like the way
he's an inkerer. And it was such like great stuff. And I think that was like kind of like when he hit his peak. So that's why whenever I hear people like dissing Liefeld or anything like that, I kind of go back to that and I'm like, like maybe, I'm not super fan of like the direction he's taken now, but I can't deny, the impression he's even had on me. Like, because his stuff is still making an impression to me, just with the pure influence of time and nostalgia and things like that.
Rob has something that he's created these characters that last. And he has a visual language that, people duplicated, but a lot of people have dropped off from at this point. But I have a lot of respect for what he's done for comics and
that alone.
The fact that if you see a Rob Liefeld drawing, it's a Rob Liefeld drawing. I think there's something so cool to that.
Definitely.
I think that is a huge compliment to an artist when someone can spot your stuff from far away and be like, oh yeah, I just knew. Like, that takes work to get to that point, and it takes I don't know, it takes vision, and I don't know. I just really have a lot of respect for just like what would comics be without Rob? I mean,
it definitely would not be. It wouldn't be better off without him. That's for sure. I honestly believe that.
Was he my favorite Image guy? I gotta say probably Jim Lee. Jim Lee and Todd probably were my favorites. And then later on, Wills.
Mm-hmm.
But he always kept it interesting. It was always interesting from the first time. And that's another comic I still have that we bought at 7-Eleven or at a grocery store, is that the first appearance of Cable. I have that downstairs, and it's pretty beat up. But my brother and I, at that time, that look, I think McFarlane might have inked him. He inked that cover. I don't know if he inked the whole issue.
But, you know what? I think in those days they were trading off a lot between each other, inking pages here and there and stuff like that. So
yeah, that comic was like a big game changer for me. That was the first time I those Image guys. There's a reason why that all worked. Like, they were definitely doing their own thing. Obviously, I'm not saying anything anyone hasn't said, but it really did stick out to me. And I think that was one of the first times I started noticing the names of artists on books rather than just reading for characters or just the fact that I got a comic book and I was just excited about it, whatever that comic book was. It was just fun to have something.
Well, we're not discussing anything new, but it's important to both of us in the, history of our art and our love of comics and our appreciation of it. and the image stuff is just so heavily ingrained in that, and Rob was such a big part of that. But yeah, it's something that I think gets out of hand a bit is the Rob bashing and all that. But besides that, like, you brought up an excellent point. You can see his work and from like a mile away and like know that's Rob. And I can say with all honesty, I feel the same way about you. I can see a piece of artwork and like that's Ryan.
Well, thanks, man. I don't know.
I didn't mean to say it so like that's Ryan. All right.
No. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. I mean, I just I don't know. Just try to draw good and be a good storyteller.
No, it's I've had a few people message me like you flatter people a lot on your show. I'm like, well, because I like them and I want them on the show because I like them and I like their art and I want to talk about it because hopefully it's entertaining to everybody else, but it's really informative to me, like kind of seeing where everyone kind of comes from with their art and the approaches they take. Sure. And something that's really, I think, kind of a mainstay in your art is monsters. And monsters are fun to draw. Like I love a big goopy monster. I have too many pictures of Venom that I've drawn that I've never even shown because it feels like I'm always fucking drawing Venom or some other. You gotta post them. Some other goopy symbiote or toothy messed up monster thing. And actually, so I'm kind of doing my my Patreon comic Emissary. I'm kind of really leaning into some of that with these next few pages I'm doing, and hopefully getting kind of a lot of that out of my system for a while.
Dude, let it rip, man. I mean, some of the best advice I've had from multiple people is if you got to flourish and, if it's, this is my little spin on it, if it's not like interfering with storytelling, lean into it, that's going to make it look interesting. And, like lean into it. I try to now, I guess.
Well, you're really good at it, and what I really like is you're really good with shapes, and like just like taking these odd shapes and making these really cool and interesting looking creatures out of them, and you actually do that really well with people. Creating like really distinctive body types and things like that, and your work on Mountainhead is some of the like most, I don't want to say restrained, but like the most like not even straightforward, but just more like the people feel more real than you've done before, but also the tension and the insanity and like the overall like craziness, I guess, and I guess the overall feel, I guess, is what I said what I was trying to get to, but it feels monstrous as opposed to being outrightly out there. At least, I'm going through the first couple issues of content, and that's a really cool thing that when I was kind of like just going over, I'm like, he's taken, I don't know if this was an active thing, but that you're thinking about when you're doing it, but it's like you've kind of taken the creep factor from like just the general, character or whatever you've drawn, and it actually just incorporated it into the entire environment.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. I guess one thing going in, and especially like, I think it's important to have kind of an approach when you're doing a book. Like, how are you going to tackle this, and what are some of your like rules, even outside of like the script? Like, where are we going with this? You know, like, and I tried to. I wanted the environments to be either. I wanted them to emphasize whatever was happening in the story, let's say, so like I wanted them to be detailed and I wanted everything to be lived in, and I wanted them to be as interesting as some of the characters, like, and the characters themselves, like if everyone's a little weird looking. I mean, it's kind of how I draw anyways, but everyone's a little beat up. Everyone's a little scarred. Everyone's a little off in the way that they look. Yeah, I wanted even like the mundane moments to be interesting or a little bit creepy, like you think about, like, I'm a big like Coen Brothers fan, and I think one of their great strengths outside of their many great strengths is the way they cast people. They cast the most interesting looking people.
So I see that.
Like even people in bit parts in their movies, you're kind of like, what is that guy's story? You'll never see that person again in the movie, but they're just so physically interesting looking, just how their face is built, the shapes, and the little things that they give. So, like as soon as you could draw a picture, you could have a person in a book and it's just like a normal looking person, right? You put an eye patch on them, you might never see that person again, but like all of a sudden they have a story. Like that's a person, like that person has a story to them, it's something simple like that. So I try adding that to all the characters, like things that you'll never see or know, or a lot of stuff that's kind of just for me. Or I know that like all those little details they add some story to a person without saying anything, which I think makes things, even though like my art is kind of wonky and wild sometimes, I think it makes them feel realistic in a way.
No, it's just
I don't know.
I was going to bring it to that in case you didn't. It definitely grounds, and you mentioned you kind of draw people kind of wonky and things like that, but also you draw people in your unique way, but you also draw them where I can look at someone you've drawn. I'm like, I think I've seen someone who looks like that. Like awesome. It's probably due to the little nuances you put into everything, whether it's an eye patch or how they're wearing their clothes or what their outfit is or their hairstyle or an expression they're giving or something like that. And I'm really glad that you've mentioned that whole Coen Brothers thing, because it's kind of something that was like scratching at the back of my brain. Like this reminds me of something, and once you mentioned that, I was like, that nail on the fucking head, like right there.
Oh, thanks.
You definitely achieved that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you did.
Thank you. I don't know. I feel like, it doesn't always, I'm trying to think of how I'm going to say this, and this might have to be edited, but like, it doesn't always inform the story directly. Some of these details I put in, and some of these things are a little fussy, and it makes me take longer on pages. But I think like on an overall kind of atmosphere and mood level, these intangibles, I think that they do help inform the story, because they add tension or creepiness or just a feeling of being uncomfortable, like, I don't know. I think those intangibles are really important, especially in a horror story.
Completely.
Like, yeah, like,
no,
if you're
no,
watching a horror movie, you just want, I just want everything to be kind of interesting, even if it's something that's not on the surface super like a big jump scare or something like that. Like I want everything to feel kind of dirty and gritty. And John Lees, the writer, he throws me these perfect pitches, because he knows, he gives me, his scripts are incredible, but he also like, he gives you the perfect pitch to like deliver, exactly what he wants, but also giving you leeway to take it in certain directions sometimes. And then like, and I got to give credit to Doug Garbark, the colorist on the book too. He, Doug just I feel like we work really well together. Doug just gets it, like the mood, the lighting, like, man, I can't say enough good things about him. Like, he is an incredible storytelling colorist. He's not just like rendering, like he's thinking, like there's a couple things in there that are kind of in Mountainhead that are very surreal. Don't know if they're real or not. Doug is, I mean, he's done such an amazing job without any direction. He just gets it. Like, he understands what John and I are trying to, get across, and he just nails it. Like, if there's been any like revisions on this, like color revisions, it's because, I forgot to tell him something, that was pertinent to the story.
Oh, like, yeah.
It's never been anything on his end.
Doug's completely fantastic. And I remember him from when he was first like coming around, doing stuff here and there. He colored a print for me. And even just when he was first starting out, he was fantastic. And like I've mentioned on the show before, that when I was talking about Mountainhead, that you two together, it's like, all right, I didn't say this, but I'm saying it now. Don't go.
Yeah.
Hold on to each other very tightly, because there's something there that is so simpatico. Like, you guys just gel so well, and it's really great to hear that it's kind of a natural thing. That Doug's not getting a ton of direction to do some of these things that are just enhancing everything, and that's the mark of a great colorist too. And
it is, yeah. And I don't want to be that guy either. Like, and not that I ever am, but I don't want to I want him to do what he does. I mean, that's why he's coloring it. I'm not. Yeah. I feel like Doug knows better than I do, and I
think in this age of coloring, like, a lot of current artists, I think for the most part, I don't think coloring was ever viewed that way before, and like now it's kind of like it's just, if not almost more important sometimes than the actual like art. Art is like, it's as crucial for picking an inker for an artist. Yeah, it just changes the dynamic of the books so much, and you can tell why books that maybe weren't, the person wasn't the right person to color that, and there's books where it's just like Mountainhead, that it's just 100% the perfect person. Or like, I can think of Gabriel Hardman and Jordan Boyd on Invisible Republic from a few years ago. They really, like, just the work they produced together was like kind of like the same thing, where it's like, okay, I think you guys need to kind of like work together all the time now, because where are you gonna go from there?
Yep. Yeah, you see why people just like, they lock in and that's their team, because they just get it. And that's, he's on top of that, he's like the nicest person. He is the consummate professional. He's just like, it's awesome working with him. Like, I feel like our whole team is made up of just great people. Obviously, the letterer is my brother, and he's, my best friend, but he's amazing. Like, I don't know. He just, and John, just everyone is wonderful. John's awesome. He's a brilliant madman. He has such a unique voice. Like, I just feel really lucky to be working with all these people, and we all get along. We're not talking to each other all the time, but like,
no, there's a lot to be said with just a really good professional relationship. Like, not every creative collaboration has to be like, oh, we're best friends now. But it's like, but when it's like, no, what I'm doing creatively and what you're doing creatively are matching up, that's just so much more powerful than like, oh, we're best friends and we're making a book together,
Yeah.
Because I've tried to make, things with people I'm really close to and friends with and family, and those things never see the light of day because creatively you're not in the right spaces together.
Oh yeah, of course. And that's what, it's cool to work with my brother too, because like, I seriously believe he's one of the best letterists in comics. Part of his thing though is that, he works on staff at IDW as he's a book designer, he's a graphic designer, and he's a letterer there. and he's so talented, and he's lettered so many books. It's insane. Like, and he's so great, and he's conscientious about everything he does, but he's like really, really collaborative, and he's fast. That shouldn't matter for great work, but like on top of the fact that he's so good at what he does, he's also super fast. He's just the whole team's great. Like I said, I feel very lucky to have this experience. It's been pretty amazing.
I'm really glad that you're getting this experience, and I really hope that, you know, enough people are, you know, getting to Mountainhead to make it, you know, so you guys can continue on doing whatever you want to keep doing together, hopefully, or at least, you know, your own projects apart. But with Mountainhead, you know, I kind of see, you know, it's definitely a high tension filled comic, and I'm kind of wondering, like, is there any pull for you to do something more upbeat, more like lighthearted, more? Because I think your style would also be, you know, we've kind of talked about how kind of quirky it can be, or whatever, like whatever terminology we've been using. But, you know, like, I kind of love the fact that I can't imagine what a Ryan Lee, you know, slice of life or romance comic or Superman comic even would look like. But on the flip side of that, I also really want to see what that looks like, you know?
Yeah, I've been working on my family circus, actually. Just kidding.
Billy.
Yeah, thanks. I do like those maps. I used to like really.
Those are my favorite ones.
Around, I thought those were super cool. But represent Bill Keane. Yeah, I got a couple ideas of some things, and I'm kind of cooking up something with another writer friend of mine right now that's been pitched. But, you know, everything's kind of in limbo right now, so we'll see what happens with that. In the meantime, I started reposting this it's called Pox, or Pox and Pudge. It's basically like this little ghoul kid. He's an actual ghoul, not like a bad person ghoul. And he has this little friend who is he's a weregoyle, so he's like part werewolf or gargoyle. And it's just kind of like a goofy, kind of Halloween-y adventure story. And I started doing it a couple of years ago for Inktober, and I never finished it. So I've been coloring it recently and putting it up, and I'm going to finish it and make a book out of it. It's basically just like a one panel every twice a week. So I've been working on that just to kind of get the feel for this character, because I'd like to actually make a real comic out of this. Eventually, I'll make a book out of this, but I want to do like a true comic story, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really, really fun. Like I did, I worked up some abstracts for the first kind of story arc, and like the world rules and all that stuff. You know, that's the easy stuff. Doing character designs and all that. Like everybody loves doing that. Like to actually
I don't. I don't. It's the most nerve-wracking thing. It's like, I'm like, because I'm going to be drawing this guy or this thing over and over again. And I'm like, you know, there's been a couple of times where I'm like, I made this way too complicated to be drawing this many times.
That's true. Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, I've done enough character designs at this point, I think, that like...
You've learned your lesson.
Yeah, I've learned some things from studying other stuff, because I used to do... well, I like doing character designs, but I did a bunch of stuff for Valiant the past couple of years. Okay. And a lot of stuff no one ever saw, but maybe I'll be able to put some of that out there. But yeah, you learn a lot from going through those multiple rounds, you know? And that I think he's kind of easy to draw. He's kind of fun. So I don't know. It could be something cool, but there's always a couple things cooking, you know? It's just a matter of finding the time to put those things out there.
Cool. Well, I think this is a good time to go to Twitter and see some questions some adoring fans have posted for you.
All right.
First up, we have the very dour and uninteresting Joel Mulvey.
Oh yeah, what a dud.
Previous guest, and if you listen to that episode, you know it is absolute opposite of this young man.
Yeah, Joe's a firecracker.
Yeah, I got to, we got to finally go out to dinner at C2E2 this year, and Joe knows how to tell a story. That's for sure.
He is one of the most energetic human beings I've ever met. He is infectious. I told somebody after C2E2, because I always hang out with Joe whenever we go to a show, because he's one of the most fun people to be around. And he's just he's a really, really like loving, great dude. I'm like, because Joe will talk to anybody, and Joe get along with anybody. But I said, I'm like, Joe Mulvey will not let you not like him. Like, there's no, if Joe wouldn't let you not like him. There's no way.
Yeah.
He will charm you. He loves people so much.
Yeah, I can't. I can't imagine someone saying like, "I don't like Joe Mulvey." That's just that. I don't think that word's been. Well, you know what? Probably based on stories he's told, that word probably has been muttered. But anyone I know, is just like Joe. Oh, I love that guy.
Joe's one of a kind.
All right, enough kissing Joe's ass here.
Yeah, you're right. I've had enough of that.
Joe. He wants to know, one, how did you get so good?
Come on. How do you how do you answer that? I don't.
You drank your Ovaltine? I don't know.
There's no, exactly. I don't know, man. I honestly, that Joe.
It's from being from the Midwest. That's what it is. Sorry, East Coast guys, you're just not going to get it.
Yeah, I don't know about being so good, but how did I get to drawing comics? Let me change this question.
Okay.
How? I don't even know what I would change the question to. Let's just say you draw a lot, Joe, and you know that because you're so good. Get out of here.
The next thing he wants to know is, why are you so nice and charming?
See, I don't really think I'm either of those things, but any good attributes I have, I gotta credit like my parents and my brother and my family and friends. Honestly, I feel like I'm surrounded.
Which is a completely Midwest answer, and I wholeheartedly accept that.
They really are. My parents are great people. My brother and I were actually just talking about them the other day, and how we were just the biggest smart alecks in high school, and we found out that we've both apologized to them about how big of dicks we were to them in high school, just being argumentative, thinking we're cool, all that crap. Like, they're the best. They really are the best.
There's two main like factions in the Midwest, and there's the people who have your experience where like my parents, like everything, they're just the best. I love them so much. And then there's people who are like, I'm fucked up because they were. It's their fault. But
yeah.
But I love them anyway. Yeah. But it's good old Midwest, good Midwest upbringing.
Sure.
He wants to know. Next question is, what were your biggest artistic influences?
Biggest.
I think we kind of talk about that a little bit, but if you want to, put some proper names on it, just so it's settled.
Comics speaking, Sam Keith, Sienkiewicz. Oh man, there's so many people. Like, there's a lot of people whose work I love. I love. There's so many, and even now, like Kirby, Mignola. No
trying to save face here. Now we all know your shame. We all know your shame.
That was a long time ago when I was stupid. I told you that. I'm not that much smarter.
You should apologize to your parents for not appreciating Kirby and Mignola back then.
I'm smarter now than I was then. Let's say that.
You know what? Let's segue that right into Ian Laurie's question.
Okay.
Who are your favorite artists outside of comics? Which I think would be a fun one.
All right, yeah. I love Ralph Steadman. He's a British illustrator. He's incredible. His stuff's really. Are you familiar with his work at all?
Not at all, but I'm definitely going to be. I always get a lot of homework for myself after these interviews.
You might know his stuff because he was basically Hunter S. Thompson's illustrator, more or less. Like he did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The stuff.
I'm sure I've definitely seen his stuff everywhere.
It's wild. It's wild. He calls it Gonzo art. He's actually still alive. He's amazing. Okay. There's an episode of Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown, where he actually goes and hangs out with him, and you could see him actually making some art, and it's incredible. Anyways, I love some painters I love are Robert Rauschenberg, Basquiat. I love James Jean, Egon Schiele. I really, growing up, there's this children's book illustrator named Mercer Mayer, and he did like those, I think they're called like little monster books or something. But before he did this like series of books that were really popular, he did this book called Professor Wormbug in the Case of the Zipper-Umpa Zoo, or yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, The Search for the Zipper-Umpa Zoo. And it's just a book of him looking for all these monsters, and the whole book is just monsters. And I really think that was like super duper informative for me. Like I still have my original copy from when I was a little kid. It's beat up. I taped the edges. It's in my kids' rooms now. It's one of the only books I have from when I was a kid. And it's still so cool. Like his monster designs are awesome. I ended up going on eBay and finding a bunch of other books from that era when he was drawing like that, because he kind of changed his stuff a little bit. Yeah, he's great. Maurice Sendak, Wild Things Are. I still think that is one of the coolest looking things I've ever seen. Like it's a weird, scary book still. Like reading it to my kids, I'm just like, though, like that kind of creepiness is fun though. Like,
oh yeah, you got to have that little bit of just like
mystery, right?
Yeah,
a little bit of the unknown, like letting a little bit of that in. Like you don't want to make your kids have nightmares, but you gotta let.
You want a little bit of goosebumps.
Yeah, yeah, I love him. And there's a guy named Baron Story. He's an illustrator, and he's like in the Society Illustrator. He's a pretty famous guy. He teaches at I think he teaches at SVU, and he taught like James Jean, and I think he taught Sienkiewicz. And a lot of that, like, I don't know if he taught David Mack, but a lot of his flourishes that you see in those guys' art, Baron Story invented. A lot of people in comics don't know who he is, but like he does tons of like hatching, and he would mix it with painting. Like I took a lot of that from him. He did a bunch of cool, like it was corporate illustration stuff, but like it just is so cool. I have a sketchbook of his. I wish more books of his were available because of his illustrations, because he is incredible. Just the way he would hatch a lot with different colored inks too. So he would render with hatching. I mean, it's just, but he would use like opaque paint on it. I don't know. It just, nothing looks like his stuff. Definitely look him up. Baron's Story is amazing. Awesome. So yeah, those are some people. That's a lot, actually.
Yeah, that's a great list for myself and others to just go and check out, because I can definitely say that's kind of lacking in my input is artists outside of comics, like that are not like the classic painters or stuff like that.
Oh, sure.
Or the more popular illustrators and things like that. So it's great answers.
Thanks.
Next question is from John Westhoff at Anti-Drummer on Twitter. Ryan, what kind of bow is best when I battle the devil in a fiddle contest to gain your art talent? Also, are you digital or traditional with your art?
What kind of bow? Like a bow staff or like a bow and arrow?
I think he means like the bow you would use to play a fiddle with.
Oh, I'm sorry, a fiddle. I'm sorry, I missed that whole section.
John, he's not going to answer that question.
John, I don't know. A good one?
First off, you don't have to answer the question because John's a writer. those guys. And on top of that, he's also a drummer, which is like double worse.
Oh yeah.
So
The wild man. John's a wild man.
It's
a loose cannon.
I'm surprised he's even able to type full words. It's any kind of bow, because it's not going to matter, because you're not going to beat him anyway, John. Yeah. But the second question I think is a legitimate question though. Digital or traditional, with your sequentials or your general sketching around and stuff like that.
Okay, I've been really long-winded in this. I'm so sorry.
No, I love it because
like late and I'm just rambling. So
I love it. I don't care if anyone else doesn't.
I'm sorry.
No, the point of this podcast for me, is really just have these conversations and not just be a list of questions I'm rattling off that are like the same questions everyone asks everybody else. So, the rambles is where we get to some fun stuff, with sure there might be some rocky spots here and there. Not saying we had any today really, but just in general, like I'd rather have this, this conversation than, asking you. Actually, no, I kind of actually want to ask you what kind of paper you use.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's besides the point.
I'll tell you.
Oh, okay.
I do my layouts digitally. Basically what I do is, this is a really dumb process, but sometimes I change it up just because I wish I had like some perfect A to B to C to D way of doing things, but I change it up all the time. But mostly what I do is I go through a script. I do quick thumbnails on the page as I'm going through, just to kind of get an idea of like framing, like really quick, like they're garbage scribbles. Then I do like a quick thumbnail in my sketchbook. And then I scan that, and then I do my, it's kind of a layout. It's kind of a pencil. It's like a mix. Like my pencils look like garbage. They are not good looking pencils at all. I think that, part of that's because I ink myself too, and I like to do a lot of drawing when I ink. But then I print those out onto Bristol, and then I ink traditionally. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, I think that's the case for like most people these days, is just kind of getting a lot of the basics down digitally, because you can just easily resize things or change something or move something, shift something over a lot faster. And then when you get to the core drawing, a lot of people, like for myself, I would, most of the time I get like, I call it like 50% pencil, because then I still print it out on the Bristol, then I light box it, and then I kind of like pencil, some parts I'll pencil over to like really refine, other parts I'll just go straight to ink or whatever.
Okay.
So, I think that's
a pretty similar process. Yeah.
And again, it depends, because it really depends also, like, how did I work on this page, and I'm sure it's the same for you. Like, when did I sit down to work on this? What was I feeling? So on and so forth.
Absolutely.
But now it's in my brain. I have to ask, what kind of paper do you use? What's your favorite kind of paper?
I usually use like I use the plate finish. I think it's or is it smooth now? They've changed it. I think it's like Strathmore 300. But dude, I'm not too picky. As long as it doesn't bleed. Yeah. I don't really care. Yeah. I'm not too picky. I wish I was more of like.
No, it's.
I'm just drawing on stuff I've had just because I have it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of like the question earlier when I was, like, what kind of like roast of coffee do you like? It's like one of those little minute details that I like to know. Sure. Because it's just interesting to me, like the differences, because, I love Strathmore Plate 500, and everyone's like, I fucking hate that paper. It's so glassy and slick. And I'm like, I just love it. That's, sure. And there's people who are like, no, I use this paper, and it's like the equivalent of sandpaper. And it's like, but it's like, hey, if that works for you, and that gets you where you feel comfortable on it. But in the end, like, I think you've probably just said what most of us feels like. As long as it doesn't bleed, like, it's fine. It's, you
can get a bad batch even with the good papers you like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've just gone through my 500, and I'm like, it's also more expensive. So I'm like, you know what? Michael's had the 300 on sale. Buy two, get one free. Let's get a pack a few pads of that.
I've had some situations where I wasn't on top of my paper and paper supply, and I've had to just run out and get what I could. It happens, but yeah, most of it's fine. So,
Okay, next question is from Victor Noisette at VicoNuts on Twitter. Why does he have to turn everything into a monster?
it's just easier.
Why not is the real question.
It's just easier.
Why aren't more people turning things into monsters?
I think we all should. Yeah, I think we definitely all should. Drawing monsters is so much easier than drawing anything else, I think. There's no wrong answer drawing a monster, right?
No.
There's no wrong way to draw it.
No,
so,
exactly. At the end of the day, we're all looking for the right answer. So
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Next question is from Len at the Prophet Len on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
He wants to know what current working. Learn how to talk, Don. What current working comic prose you get inspiration from, if any?
Oh, of course.
No, you're supposed to just shit on everybody right now. It's like, no, everyone's terrible except me.
Man, there's just so many. I couldn't even
two. Just name two.
So many. Mike Huddleston, amazing.
Okay.
Jeez, I don't know. Like Stoko.
Okay. Hey, perfectly great answers.
Good?
Yeah. No,
right.
perfectly great answers. The truth is, there's such a great wide berth of awesome comic art and so many various styles. Like you could sit here all day and just name people that inspire other artists.
I'm just looking at my bookshelf, man. And I could just Wes Craig, incredible. Like one of the biggest innovators of page layouts and just such a cool. Oh man, there's so many. Every book on my shelf I can name is someone that I like.
And the cool thing about just the three you've mentioned, like Wes Craig to James Stocco, two completely different approaches.
Yeah.
There's
just you get different things from different people, right? I wish I could just say Mobius, who I do love, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't just pinpoint a single. Mignola's one of my favorite artists. We don't need to bring up how dumb I was again.
I'm done bringing it up. It's fine. just make sure you send me a letter signifying that you've apologized to your parents. That's all.
I'll do that.
For the last question, I save this one for last because it's our good buddy Dave Jordan, and he wants to know, which Mineral album do you prefer, End Serenading or The Power of Failing?
It's Power of Failing. It's Power of Failing, Dave. I'd like to hear his answer, actually.
Well, when this drops, or you can just reply to him on Twitter. Let us know, Dave. I have no idea. I Googled those titles just to make sure they're from the same band, so I can just mention the name of the band. I have no idea.
Albums. Very different albums.
I have no idea what these people sound like, so I have no horse in this race. So
there you go.
But there you go. The Power of Failing, Dave. You're wrong. Ryan's right.
Or he might be right. I don't know. He might be right.
No, he's wrong. He's wrong.
We'll see.
No, he's wrong.
Is he wrong?
He's just wrong.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's it.
Sorry, Dave.
No apologies. Only to your parents. You got no time for any other apologies, Ryan.
I have quite the apology tour to my parents.
This Mignola Kirby thing is such a deep. I'm sure they're hurting about it. They just don't want to bring it up to you because they're nice, sweet Midwestern people.
They wouldn't do that. They would never do that. They would never bring it up, even if it broke their heart.
So as soon as you get off this call, I don't care if you have to wake them up. Just put some real oomph behind us. Maybe shed a few tears. Send them a pie. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Or a nice casserole. A nice casserole would really just
pickup.
Yeah. Or nice good old Midwestern casserole. Just there you go.
Yeah, something with gravy.
Now I'm talking shit, but now I'm getting hungry for casserole.
Yeah.
A giant mush of shit just in a pan, all baked up, some cheese. Oh fuck yeah, man! This sounds great.
I know. I want to do that. I want to fill up and have some awesome nightmares. That'll be wonderful.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, I really appreciate you giving some time up from your night to chat with me, and I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you did as well. And if there's anything you would like to, as so many commercials say now, in these trying times, or uncertain times, if there's anything you would like to let people know you're doing, to check out. I don't know if Mountainhead's going to continue coming out digitally, or if everything's just kind of on hold until we figure out what comic shops are doing. But
pick up Mountainhead, written by John Lees, lines by me, colors by Doug Garbark, and letters by my brother, and letters and design by my brother Sean Lee, from IDW. Please do let us know what you think. I guess you can find me mostly at Twitter at Riley Art. Also support your comic shops if you can. I know people are trying to save money too now. But if you can, get books or order something from them, or I don't know, any way you can support your shops, I think that would be great. And support your fellow creators too. My fellow creators. I don't know if you're a creator and you're listening. Support your fellow creators, and if you're a reader or whoever, I don't know. That's
and support. Support always doesn't have to be financial. It could be sharing to people, through posts and things like that, what other people are doing, in case there's someone who can afford to buy something, or offer their support in some other way by sharing that again, and things like that. Word of mouth is so important for.
Oh, totally.
It's it's just really crucial, and especially in these days, because there's a lot of shops that could really use the support, and they're doing their best to, deliver things and send things, and really trying to keep servicing their customers the best they can. So, and it includes creators who have lost work, who are doing commissions and things like that, or their work is in limbo. It's not necessarily lost, but it's not exactly happening at the moment. So,
pick up old books, or like you said, just saying hi to someone. Proof of life rules. Like, just engagement right now, I think is what's helping everyone get
positive
through.
Engagement is
positive engagement.
Positive engagement. Let's just to put a slight clarification on that, because I think we're all, though artists are kind of used to being kind of shut in a bit from the outside world. It's kind of the idea behind, but it's fine if we choose to do it. But when we're being told to do it, and then everyone else around it is doing it, it just kind of it can play havoc with some brains. That's for sure. So and not just artists, with each other in general. Yeah,
keep it posy. Be good to each other, everybody, or do your best.
We're all going to come out of this better, and hopefully everything will be better. It'll be different, but it'll be better.
Yes.
All right, Ryan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it, man. Take care.
Bye. Thanks again for listening to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast.